It's Wednesday. That means it's time for Know the Code Show. Today we're doing episode 12, and we're going to be talking more about quality coding methodologies. And I'm teaching you guys a different mindset of refactoring. So as you're going through these challenges, I want you to be understanding that you may not get it right off the bat, but over time, the more and more code that you see, and the more often that you're going in and doing these refactoring exercises, it's starting to change your mindset and how you look at code and think about the construction of your software. And that's what our goal is here. So, bit by bit, little by little, I'm moving you towards understanding to make your code comply with quality standards. Okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about what that takes because in this challenge, I asked you to evaluate two different solutions and try to pick out which one has a higher quality standard to it than the other one. Something different, trying to get you to think a little bit, right? All right, so let's scroll on down and we're going to start with where we ended last week, right? So we went into our event registry, which is the apply filters and do action, and we started refactoring. We noticed that both those functions share a lot of redundant code, right? And let's switch back over to the code. So we've got these two functions side by side. We've already refactored out some of it, but there's still a lot of redundancy in here. Let's scroll up. You see it right here? Look at this. It's the same. Look at that. And we scroll down. Here's the sorting. There's sorting. We reset. Yep. Here's where you call all of the different callbacks that are registered. Yep, right here. It's exactly the same. And then here's where you're removing it from the current filter. Okay. So we know that it's very wet, and we know that our goal here is to use Core as a learning tool for how to build your code in the highest quality that you can. Right. So that's what we're doing. We're not poking fun at Core. You know, it may sound like I am, I'm not. All right. So we already did some of this. Today, what we're going to start with, and the very first question that I asked you, I had two questions in Q1. And I wanted you to look at right here. That one and this one. Oops, sorry. This if conditional. It's also repeated up here. Right there. See it? And here. Wow, look at that. Okay, so I've got 4 different places where I have this repeating pattern. That repeating pattern doesn't necessarily bother me so much. What bothers me about it is it readable? Can you look at that code right there that I have highlighted that is set? Can you look at that is set and tell me without thinking about it, read it? Tell me what it does. You have to think about it, don't you? And that's the first question that I asked you. Can you just look at it and know what it's doing without thinking about it? No, you can't. Darn. Okay. So that tells you then, that gives you a clue that, okay, maybe this is one of those areas that I need to refactor, right? If it's not readable, I need to think about refactoring. All right. If I were only using it in one place, I may or may not, but I'm using it. You can see I counted 4 places right there that I'm using it. So it's a good candidate. So in order to understand what this thing does, what's the thought process you have to go through? All right, so it's an if. So you know that if this conditional is true, then we're going to do something, right? We don't care right at this moment what it does. All we care about is the conditional. So if this thing is true, because that's what an if thing does, then we're going to do something that's contained within its brackets. All right, the next thing that you've got to look at is the is set. All right, here's the is set right there. Well, what does is set do? It checks to make sure that a variable is defined. In this case, we have WP underscore filter And within that array, we're looking for the key, which is all, and it's checking to make sure that that key exists. That's what it's doing. So I could have used array key exists, but instead we have is set, and that's fine. I probably would have preferred to use array key exist. But that's what it's doing. It's checking to make sure that that all key is present. All right, so what is $WP underscore filter? That's the next thing in your thought process. Wonder what that is. Well, if you've been following along, you already know that that's the global event registry. That's what holds all of the events, all the filters and the actions, right? It has the tag names for those and all the callbacks. That's what's in that. All right. So the next thing you look at is, okay, well, now I have this key all right here. What does that do? Okay. So by looking at that, you know that it's the event registry. Okay. And we know that things are keyed by the type of event. So the event name. All right. So in this case, then that would be the all event name. That's what we're doing. So we're checking to see if there is an all event in the global registry. That's what it's doing. Okay. So let's look at question Q1.b. And I just talked about, I answered the own question. So what's the purpose of this conditional check? In one case, I'm checking that it's a true. In the other case, I'm checking that it's not. Okay. The purpose of it is it's checking to see if the all event is firing. That's what it's doing. Because we know that any event that's firing is stored let me take that back. We know that any events that are firing that has callbacks are stored in the global event registry, right? That's what it's doing. So it's seeing if there's any callbacks, if this event is in there. That's what it's doing. So what might we call this? What could be a good name? It could be something like is underscore the underscore all underscore event. It could be doing the all event. It could be all event is firing. Could be lots of little things, huh? All right, let's move on. So in the first code challenge, the very first thing I'm going to have you do is we're going to refactor this baby. Let's make it more readable. Cool. So, excuse me while I copy this code. We're going to come over here. Where would you like to put it? Well, let's just put it up here at the top. You can put it wherever you want, but I'm just going to put it here. I just named it is underscore all underscore event. So is it the all event? That's what I did. And you notice what I had to do to get it in here. There's nothing I need to pass. All I did was say is set, and I had to bring in the global. You see it right here? So with that there, let's go ahead and refactor. All right, so I can get rid of this. And go like that. There's one. And I come over here to this guy and get rid of that one. Does this make you nervous? I'm in here touching core. Now, the first thing I want you to notice, look at this. That's not used anymore. I don't need it. Okay, I just clean that up. Bye-bye. I'm up here, and I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Bye-bye, and I don't need that one anymore. I'm cleaning up my code. And then I can come down here. Oh, this guy doesn't have it, so I don't need that, dude. Let's skip on down. And it's right here also. And I can put that in. Okay, now you can name it anything that makes sense to you. I just named it that. You could say, are there callbacks for the all event? Whatever you want to call it so that it's readable to you in your mind. The thing you need to understand is it just needs to be readable. The words you use are not as important, if you wanted to change the words around, but you want it to be a verb so that you know that it's an action. It's doing something, right? It's a function. It's a method. It's doing something. So that's a verb. And you want it to be descriptive so that you just look at it and you go, oh, okay, that's what it's doing. Okay. I could even have called it, let's do this. Does, wait, all event has callbacks. I could do that. Maybe that's more clear to you. The point is, there's not one way to name things, but we're just making it more readable. So now that if conditional, you come down and you don't have to think about it. You just come down and you go, okay, so if this is the all event, then I'm going to do, and look at that. Doesn't even comply with standards. We'll do that. Then I'm going to do what's inside this bracket right here. That's what the point of this exercise was. Okay. That any of that doesn't make sense to you, put it in the questions tab and I'll answer it at the end. So we're going to move on to CC2, which is Code Challenge 2. All right. And I presented you with two different choices in this baby. Because we want to clean up some code, right? So let me see. If I look at, I've got to see where I'm at now. Hold on. The beauty of live. All right. So we are cleaning up line 68, 69. Hold on. All right. Right here. So we're cleaning this guy up. All right. Got it. And 91. Oh, okay. I got it. Duh. Lost my train of thought. Don't you love that? So if I look in this code right now, I've got a couple of different things going on. See this right here? Yep. The WP current underscore filter. And then you come down here and you see it again, right? There are two places that I'm manipulating that particular global variable. And that global variable does what? Oh, come on, guys. You know what it does. It has a list of all the current events that are firing. That's what that baby has. Okay. The other one that I showed you before, WP underscore filter, that's your event registry. It's keyed by the event name, which is tag here. Yeah, tag. It's really the event name. And then it has a list of all the callbacks set up by their priorities. And if you're not sure how that works, you need to go back quite a few episodes because we covered all of that. And this one just has a list of all of the current event names, those events that are firing. So as we're firing them, they go in. When I come down to here, we remove them. And that's what array pop does. It pops off the one that is currently being executed because it's the last one, right? Of course, it's the last one. That's what this does up here. It's putting the event name in the very last spot. All right. So we could refactor this. All right. Let's make it more readable. Excellent. Well, that's what we're going to do. So I showed you two different choices of code, and I said, all right, two different choices. I've got choice A right here. Let's deal with them one at a time. Let's deal with choice A. And it is add or remove current event to current registry. All right. So that's what we're doing. When you look at, well, let me back up one moment. Before we get going, for you to evaluate what quality is, if you would have clicked on, here, let me open it up for you so that you can see. Let's come on down. Oh, hold your eyes. I might make you sick here. I'm scrolling. Oh. And you come on down. And if we open these things up, you notice I gave you some links here, right? And if you would have clicked on those, it takes you to software principles. And these are proven, well-accepted principles in the world. They're not just Tanya says so. And then keys to quality. And it gives you some best practices there. And you need to become very familiar with these two pages. All right. So if we come back over and we're looking at our code, how do we evaluate what constitutes quality? Well, if you read those documents, you're going to notice something that 4 themes that keep popping up. There's more, but the first one is that the function has to have one reason to change. And it has a single responsibility. That's what single responsibility principle is. It has one purpose, one reason to change. And that comes from Uncle Bob. Robert C. Martin. Get to know that name. He's one of the godfathers of code out there. Okay, the second one is you want it to be very simple and lean. So skinny, lean code is good, and simplicity is good. That's the KISS principle. You want it to be readable, and you want it to tell you what it does. So we don't want inline comments. No inline comments. Nope. The code should be readable and tell you what it does. And you don't want any redundant or repeating patterns or code. You want it to be very dry. That's the dry principle. Okay? 4 keys there. Well, there was more than that, but I wrapped them up into 4 points. All right, so now you're armed with the knowledge. Now we can go and try to understand, is choice A or choice B better quality code? All right, so let's go down by the principles. So the first quality check is single responsibility. So if I look at this function right here, the name right off the bat tells me it's doing how many things? How many thingies is it doing? Add or remove. 2. I'm doing 2 things. I can add the event name into the current list, or I can remove the event name from the current list. And I do that with this by setting this flag right here. That's how I do that. Okay, that's kind of weird, huh? All right, so with that one, I can ask you the question, does it have a single responsibility? And your head should be shaking shoulder to shoulder. No, 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 it does not. Okay, so we failed on that principle. The next quality check, the KISS principle. Is this function simple? And I'd say, yeah, it's simple. There's not very many lines of code here. However, it's not as simple as it could be because I got a couple of if statements going on, and I had to have that because I'm doing 2 different functions. All right, so let's move on to the next one then. Readability, and is it purposeful? Does it tell me what it's doing? Is it readable? Well, let's put it into action. That's really how you're going to see. I mean, this is readable, but let's put it into context. So let's use the function. All right, so let's come down here. Here's apply filters. I hope you can see this. It's kind of small, isn't it? Let me blow it up a little bit here. All right, so if I look at this, here I've replaced out that if block, and I have add or remove, and then I pass in the name. So you're going to go, wait, what if block did she just replace? This one right here. I replaced that if block. Okay. And if I go back and I look at my gist again, here it is, and I've passed in the event name, which is the tag. Now, am I adding or removing just by reading this? I don't know. All right, so let's scroll down. And remember the array pop at the very end? Let's go back. Right there. See the array pop? All right, so I've got to take care of that one too, right? And I come down here and I'm passing in the event name again, right? Because I need to know which one. And then I set this thing to true. Okay, well, that gives me a clue then. True means something, but I still don't know, does it relate to the add or the remove? Do you know? Well, you do if you go and read the function, but the key here is I don't want to read the function. I don't want to know what that thing is doing necessarily if I don't have to. I'd rather just look at this code and know what's going on. So, is it readable? I would say no, it's not as readable as it needs to be, right? So no, shake your head no. Is it purposeful? Yes, it does tell me what it's doing. Absolutely. But it's still not as readable because I'm not sure which function it's doing. All right, so let's do another quality check. Is it dry? Do you see any repeating patterns? Yes, I'm using it twice. Well, of course, you had to use it twice. It's in 2 different functions. But it's not repeating here. And if I go back, it is dry. All right. So it passes that one. So let's do a summary on A. What did we come up with? So we had our 4 points. We said single responsibility. Nope, it failed on that one. Simplicity, which is the KISS. Yes, it's simple. The next one was readability, and is it purposeful? Nope, it's not readable as it could be, so therefore it fails on that one. Is it dry? Yes. So we got a 50% out of that guy. Okay, well, let's move on to the next one. Choice B. Here's choice B. Now notice this time I split it up into two separate functions. First of all, when you look at these two separate functions, right off the bat, it's very clear to you what I'm doing, right? It tells you right there. This one does this and that one does that. All right, so let's do our quality checks like we just did. Single responsibility principle. Does it have one purpose, one reason to change? Shake your head up and down. Yay! Yes, one reason to change. This one changes when it's called because I'm adding the event name in, right? This one down here, its purpose and reason to exist is I'm going to now remove. That's what I'm doing. And notice I don't need to pass anything in because I'm just popping off the last one. So if I put that code into action, let's go do that. Let's scroll and let's make this bigger. Okay, so here it is. This was the very first if, and this time I'm adding. So does that make more sense to you? That should. My goodness, that's a lot more clear than, you go away. Than this one. Here, I don't know which one I'm doing, right? And if I go back to my regular code, the existing code, this right here, I've replaced all of that out with just one function now, right? So if I look at that, I go, okay, what is that guy doing? But if I look at this guy, oh, okay, so I'm adding that into the registry. Okay, that makes sense. All right, cool. And if I come down to the bottom, I'm now getting rid of the array pop down here. What the heck is this doing? Okay, well, I'm not sure what that does, but I just gave it a name. Cool. So this is what I'm doing. And I don't need to know what global variables involved. I don't need to know what's going on from that perspective. I just know that, okay, I did that at the end. Let the other function go and take care of it. I've abstracted that away. All right. Now look at choice A. See the difference? This one you don't know if you're adding or removing unless you know the code. This one you know, remove. Boink. First one right off the bat. Okay, so we know that single principle. I jumped ahead a little bit. KISS, yes, it is very simple. They're both lean and skinny, right? Lean and skinny. There's only a couple of lines of code in there. Yeah, that's pretty simple, pretty skinny. Is it readable and purposeful? Does it tell you what it's doing? Yes. Yes, it does. By golly, it's very clear, right? And dry. Any repeating patterns? Nope, it's dry. So let's do our quality check. Single principle? Yes. KISS? Yes. Readable and purposeful? Yes. Dry? Yes. Choice B. Everybody raise your hands. Did you get choice B? Yes. So yes, the answer is choice B. Good. Now let's refactor and put this thing in there. Okay. Well, hold on one sec. I need that one. And I come up here and I'm going to go and get rid of that. And I'm going to pass in the tag. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And then I'm going to come down to this one. And I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do the same thing there. Now, some of you may be thinking in your mind, wait, we have repeating patterns still going on between the two functions here and here, right? I'm duplicating this stuff. There's a method to my madness. Eventually down the pike, after we've refactored this thing enough, we're going to abstract away the stuff that's still duplicated into another function. Oh, it's going to be so exciting. All right, so there's the add and remove. I just put those in there. Does that make sense to you now? Do you see how this works? Huh? Is that clear as mud? And look, it still works. This is my sandbox site that I'm running. If it did not work, I'd get a bunch of ugly errors on the screen because everything in WordPress goes through filters. So you can see, or it goes through the event system. So you can see that it came right up. Everything's working just fine. And everything is hunky-dory and happy. All right. So I think that was it. Yep, that wraps it up. So I give you in the tutorial, you'll see all of the code gets published. Everything I just went through also gets published. So you'll be able to understand and be able to come back to this and refactor for yourself. So let's see if there's any questions. Hey, what's going on? No questions there. Thank you, Laura. Rewrite core. Yeah, in my spare time. I'm thinking that what I'm going to end up doing is training you guys, and then eventually all of us can come in there and make a difference, because that's our goal, right? We're going to elevate everybody up. Everyone's going to understand what quality coding is. Your stuff that you're going to be producing is going to be of the highest quality and excellence. And when I teach you OOP, you're going to be doing OOP and everything. So when that occurs, you guys will be making an impact not only on our ecosystem, but core and everything. Now, with that in mind, let me say that core is stable. It has 10 years behind it. It has a great team of people volunteering. They've done a great job. We'll have the ability to step in and help out once we start getting you guys trained up. And we do want you to go back in and dedicate your time and volunteer and help our ecosystem by contributing to core. Absolutely. So I gave you guys some time to ask me a question and nobody had questions. So I guess you guys are all set then. Excellent. Hey, thanks for joining me. Today was fun, wasn't it? We're going to continue refactoring. There's a lot more refactoring to do in this guy. So stick with me. If you're new to the show and you haven't caught up yet, you got to go back, because we work every week. I'm building you up week by week by week. So start at 1 and work your way up. Great. Hey, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you on Slack. Bye.